You're late. The guard slammed the elevator doors shut just inches from his face. The courier held the delivery in his hands but kept staring at his own reflection in the glass, tired eyes, a worn-out backpack. Seconds later, she burst out of the office, dressed in something expensive, loud, sharp, and yet smiled when their eyes met. Sometimes the last to arrive are the ones who stay forever, she said in a tone that made everyone in the lobby hear something different. Her smile was too confident, as if she already knew why he was here. The courier stepped back, but the doors behind him screeched, cutting off his retreat. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Is that him?" And that was enough to send adrenaline rushing through his veins. She moved closer and whispered, "You have no idea what you just brought." He tightened the straps of his backpack even harder, though it was nothing but an ordinary package. Yet the eyes around him and her words made his burden suddenly dangerous. He didn't answer the buzzing phone. Unknown number. The guard squared his shoulders. The lobby hushed the way offices do when everyone pretends not to watch. She stepped closer, her sleeve brushing his wrist, perfume drifting like a quiet dare. "Walk with me," she said, not asking. "I'm just delivering," he muttered. "Not today." They moved. The guard hesitated under her look, the receptionist lifted the badge printer, then lowered it again. Men in navy suits peeled off the wall, one checked his watch, another eyed the backpack as if it were a vault. Elevator doors opened, then closed again, as if timing mattered more than steel. "What's in the bag?" one asked. "Receipt," he said, though it sounded like a question. She slid a card into his palm and pressed his fingers shut. "Hold this. Don't read it." Her voice dropped low. "When I say, now, go left." "Left to where?" "To the thing you want and the thing you're afraid of. Usually the same door." He almost laughed, but her eyes didn't. They carried the weight of people who had lived through too many deals and one mistake too many. A sign flashed from the corridor, "Board Session, 12th floor." Another, smaller, "Retirement Fund Review." Heat prickled the back of his neck. 20 years of night shifts, calluses that never left, bills that never waited. He swallowed. "I'm not part of this," he said. "You will be," said the man with the watch. "He's with me," she cut in. A pause. "For now." He steadied his breath, counting like the coach had taught him back when hope was a simpler word. On 2, the phone buzzed again. On 3, the man with the watch stepped forward. "Name?" He opened his mouth. She beat him to it. "Mr. Late," she said, and somehow it sounded like both an introduction and an offer. The lobby gave a thin laugh that wasn't quite a laugh. "Let him through," she said. The guard hesitated. He studied the lines on her face, the kind people earn fighting for something that didn't always fight back. She held his gaze half a second longer than necessary, and it landed like a promise he didn't understand. "Now," she whispered. He went left. The corridor narrowed, walls lined with glass offices where silhouettes pretended not to watch. She walked just ahead, heels cutting the silence, every step a command. He followed, but not blindly, his pulse screamed he should turn back, throw the package on the floor, vanish. Yet he didn't. "You can still leave," she said without looking. "But if you do, you'll never see what was meant for you." He almost laughed. "I'm not playing games. This isn't a game. Not for them." She tilted her chin toward the suits now shadowing them, 2 in front, 2 behind. The elevator pinged open at the end of the hall. One of the men stepped inside, blocking the way. "Hand it over." His voice was flat, practiced. He looked at her. Her eyes flicked, no, not toward him, but at the badge reader on the wall. A silent signal. His hand tightened on the strap. He could give it up, walk away, return to night shifts and bills. Or he could move. For the first time all day, he chose. No. His voice cracked but held. This gets delivered to who ordered it. Not to you. The man in the elevator sneered. Wrong answer. A hand reached for his backpack. Instinct overrode fear, he twisted, shoving the man back into the doors. The elevator dinged angrily, doors stuttering. Shouts burst, chaos for the first time. She didn't flinch. Now you're awake, she said, almost proud. She swiped the badge reader, the light turned green. Through here. Move. They pushed into a stairwell, footsteps echoing, metal railing cold under his grip. His lungs burned, adrenaline tasted like rust. On the landing she stopped so abruptly he nearly collided into her. She pressed her back against the wall, her hand hovering near his chest, too close, steadying him. Listen. From here on, you choose every step. Not me. Before he could answer, the door above burst open. Heavy boots thundered down. Not the suits, uniformed security, radios crackling. She grabbed his wrist. Decide now. Up or down? His throat tightened. Both directions sounded like traps. He forced himself to meet her eyes. Down, he said, surprising himself. Her lips curled. Then run. They raced downward, 3 flights in seconds. Voices chased, boots hammered closer. His muscles screamed. The stairwell opened into a basement corridor with 2 doors, one marked exit, the other marked archives. She turned to him, breath sharp. Pick. The pounding boots were seconds away. His hand hovered between the handles. He chose. And the lights went out. Darkness swallowed the stairwell. The courier's chest heaved, sweat running cold down his spine. Somewhere above, boots slammed metal steps, muffled curses echoing in the blackout. She didn't move, only whispered, they cut the power. Not for us, for something bigger. His hand brushed along the wall, searching blindly. Fingers caught the rough edge of the exit handle, but her grip seized his wrist. Not that door. They'll expect it. Then archives, he hissed. Sometimes answers hide where no one looks. He shoved the heavy door open. A stale draft met them, rows of cabinets, old paper, boxes stacked like forgotten history. Emergency lights flickered once, painting her face in brief red. She looked less like a stranger, more like someone fighting her own war. A voice broke the silence. Freeze. He spun. A man stood at the far end, flashlight aimed at their eyes. Not a guard. Too casual, no uniform, just a worn jacket and a scar running down his cheek. The courier tensed. Who the hell? The scarred man cut in, if you want to live, follow me. The suit's footsteps drew closer from the stairwell. Radios crackled. She leaned in, whispering, I don't know him. Neither did he. Yet the stranger's calm gaze was steady, like someone used to being chased. The courier made his second choice, he stepped forward. They followed the scarred man deeper into the archives. He kicked open a side hatch, revealing a tunnel lined with cables and dust. Maintenance access, he said. Few know it's here. The courier ducked inside. Claustrophobic walls pressed close, but for the first time, the pounding boots fell away. As they crawled, the man muttered, You're carrying more than you think. They'll kill for it. The courier's throat tightened. What's in the package? The man's flashlight beam slid across him, pausing on his face. Not what? Who? The words froze him mid-step. He almost asked again, but before he could, the tunnel shuddered. Dust rained from the ceiling. A siren blared above ground, muffled but urgent. The scarred man snapped, Move faster. The tunnel curved downward, and at the end, 2 grates. One glowed faintly with daylight. The other hummed with machinery, deeper underground. She turned to him, eyes blazing. Choose again. Before he could, a metallic bang thundered behind them. Someone, or something, was forcing the hatch open. The metallic crash behind them grew louder, steel bending under force. The courier's chest tightened. Two grates ahead, daylight to the left, mechanical hum to the right. His hand hovered, torn. Then he lunged for the grate with daylight. The scarred man cursed. Wrong one, too obvious. But it was too late. The courier kicked it open, dragged the woman through, and they spilled into blinding light. For a heartbeat, freedom. They landed in an alley, air thick with exhaust and rain. He gasped, lungs drinking it in like water. For once, he'd chosen, not frozen. That felt like victory, until a black SUV screeched to a halt across the alley. Doors flew open. Men in suits again. Faster this time, coordinated. She grabbed his wrist. Run. They sprinted, shoes splashing puddles, package bouncing against his back. Horns blared as they burst onto a busy street, weaving between cars. The city swallowed them, noise masking pursuit for a moment. They ducked into a side cafe, breaths ragged. She pressed him against the wall, eyes fierce. Why didn't you take the lower tunnel? I chose the only way that felt alive. Alive doesn't mean safe. Her hand brushed his chest, lingering too long for someone speaking of safety. The scarred man slammed the door behind them, face set hard. They'll track you anywhere now. That bag, do you even know what you're carrying? I don't care, the courier snapped. I deliver, that's it. The scarred man's eyes burned. Then deliver this, it isn't a thing. It's a person. The room froze. He almost laughed at the absurdity, until she didn't deny it. Instead, she whispered, not here. She tugged the zipper of the backpack down an inch. A thin gasp escaped from inside. Small. Fragile. Human. His stomach lurched. What the? Later, she cut him off. If you want answers, get us across the river. Through the cafe window, headlights flashed. Two SUVs boxed the street, men pouring out. The courier's pulse hammered. He had chosen daylight, and now daylight had betrayed him. The scarred man gritted his teeth. Too late to run. Decide, fight or surrender. The cafe lights flickered, then shattered into darkness as the door burst open. The cafe exploded into chaos. Glass rained as the door splintered, men in dark suits storming inside. Tables toppled, cups shattered. The courier shoved the woman behind him, instinct taking over, though he had nothing but his fists. One man lunged. He ducked, swung the heavy backpack into the attacker's chest. The thud sent the man staggering, but it drew another forward. Hands gripped his jacket, slamming him into the counter. Pain ripped through his ribs. He gasped, teeth clenched, refusing to drop the bag. Give it up, someone barked. You don't know what you're carrying. Exactly, he spat back, swinging his elbow, breaking free. For once, anger outweighed fear. The scarred man tackled another suit, fists flying with brutal precision. He moved like someone who had done this too many times. The courier almost believed they had a chance, until he saw the woman cornered near the window, a man pressing a gun to her temple. His blood froze. Stop. The man sneered. Bag, or she dies. Every instinct screamed at him to hand it over. But her eyes locked on his, sharp, unyielding. Don't, she mouthed. Her voice didn't need to be loud. She would rather fall than give them what was inside. His chest heaved. His arms shook. And yet, he refused. He hurled a chair at the man, glass shattering as it struck the window. In that second of distraction, she drove her knee into her captor, twisting free. A shot cracked, deafening. She dropped, rolling to the floor, alive. They crashed through the broken window, spilling into the street. Horns blared as they stumbled into traffic. Drivers shouted, brakes screamed. He pulled her close, shielding her as another shot whistled past. They dove into an alley, lungs burning. His shirt stuck to his skin, warm with blood from a graze along his side. She tore a strip from her dress, pressing it against the wound. Her touch was both fierce and tender. Don't you dare quit now. He wanted to collapse. Instead, he forced himself upright. Where to? The scarred man pointed down the alley. Safe house. 2 blocks. But as they staggered forward, headlights lit the far end. Another SUV screeched across their path. Doors flew open. More men. Trapped between 2 ends of the alley, bleeding, cornered. The courier tightened his grip on the backpack. His jaw set. For the first time, he wasn't thinking about delivering a package. He was thinking about surviving, and winning. He stepped forward. Then we fight. And from the shadows above, a new voice called his name. The voice from above cut through the alley like a blade. Over here. A fire escape rattled as a figure dropped down, lean, hood pulled low, moving fast. The courier froze, unsure if this was rescue or trap. The woman gripped his arm. Don't trust. But the scarred man shoved her aside. We don't have a choice. Shots cracked. Bullets pinged against the brick. The hooded figure kicked down a ladder. Move if you want answers. Against every instinct, the courier hauled himself up, pain slicing his side. Muscles trembled, blood soaking his shirt, but he climbed. The woman followed, swift as if she'd done this before. The scarred man stayed behind, fists flying, buying seconds. They scrambled across the rooftop, city lights stretching like fire below. Sirens wailed in the distance. The courier's breath tore out in ragged gasps. His legs felt leaden, but he kept the backpack close. On the far side of the roof, the hooded figure pulled back their hood. A young woman, sharper eyes than her years should hold. She glanced at the courier's pack. You don't know, do you? He shook his head, anger bleeding through exhaustion. Then tell me. She hesitated, biting her lip. It's not cargo. It's not money. It's someone. And they matter more than either of you realize. The courier staggered back. Someone? His voice cracked. He felt the weight shift on his shoulders, as if the bag itself breathed. He wanted to unzip it, to end the torment of not knowing. His hands reached. The woman caught them. Her grip was fierce. Not here. Not now. Her eyes burned. Open it, and they'll find us within minutes. His chest heaved, fury tangled with despair. So I'm risking my life for a ghost? The hooded girl shook her head slowly. Not a ghost. A future. Before he could demand more, a deafening blast ripped through the building beneath them. The rooftop lurched, cracked spiderwebbing underfoot. Somewhere below, the scarred man shouted, a cry of defiance, then silence. The courier stumbled, knees buckling. His vision blurred, strength bleeding out with every heartbeat. She caught him, pressed close, her voice fierce against his ear, stand up. If you fall now, everything ends. Flashing lights swept the sky, drones, their beams locking onto the rooftop. A loudspeaker thundered, surrender the package or be destroyed. The courier's knees gave way. He forced himself upright, body shaking. For the first time, he screamed back, come take it. The drone beams tightened, converging. And the backpack shifted. Something inside knocked twice. The rooftop shook as the drones closed in, beams searing white across the tar. The courier's body screamed to give up, to drop the pack and collapse. But his grip only tightened. Then the scarred man reappeared, staggering from a rooftop hatch, blood streaking his face. "You've done enough," he rasped, stepping closer. "Hand it over. I'll finish this." For a heartbeat, relief washed over the courier. A comrade still alive. But then, he saw it. The scarred man's hand, slick with blood, reaching not to defend but to snatch. "Don't," the woman shouted, but too late. The scarred man slammed his fist into the courier's wound, ripping a cry from his throat. His knees buckled, pain blinding. The backpack tore free. The hooded girl gasped. "You." The scarred man sneered, holding the bag high. "You thought I was saving you? I was saving this. Whoever controls what's inside controls the future." The drones shifted, spotlights converging on him now. "Target secured," a voice boomed from above. The courier collapsed to his knees, rage and shame clawing through his chest. He had trusted the wrong man. Blood slicked his fingers as he pressed his side, vision tunneling. Around him, the city spun. But then, one thing broke through. The bag twitched in the scarred man's grip, jerking violently. A muffled cry, unmistakably human, cut through the night. The scarred man froze, eyes wide. For the first time, his mask cracked. He looked shaken, afraid. And in that crack, the courier saw it, truth. Summoning every shred of strength, he forced himself upright. "You don't get to keep them," he rasped. His voice was weak, but it carried. The woman's hand closed around his arm, steadying him. The hooded girl stepped closer, eyes fierce. The scarred man hesitated, torn between the drones above and the fragile package twisting in his grasp. "It doesn't matter," he snarled, trying to mask his fear. "They'll take it anyway." Then, without warning, a gunshot split the night. The scarred man jerked, eyes wide, bag slipping from his hands. He staggered, dropped to his knees, and collapsed. The drone swiveled, beams locking onto the falling bag. Sirens blared louder, mechanical voices rising, "Retrieve! Retrieve!" The courier lunged, arms outstretched, body screaming in pain. He caught the bag against his chest, collapsing to the rooftop again. His heart thundered, he had it back. But as relief cracked through, new terror replaced it. The bag moved again, this time stronger. A small hand pushed from inside, pressing against the zipper. The courier stared, frozen. And then came the sound that shattered the rooftop silence, a child's voice, soft, trembling. "Help me." The rooftop froze around that fragile voice. The courier's chest heaved as the words echoed, too soft to be imagined, too real to ignore. He clutched the backpack tighter, pulse thundering. The woman's face went pale, but her eyes never left his. "Now you know why they'll never stop." The drones above circled, lights burning down. The loudspeaker roared again, "Surrender the package or be eliminated." Gun barrels swiveled. The courier felt the world press him flat, every exit sealed, every choice lethal. He dropped to one knee, fumbling with the zipper. The woman's hand shot out, slamming it shut. "Not here. I can't just ignore that voice," he snapped, eyes wild. "You open it now, you kill them. Don't you get it? They're tracking every signal, every sound." That voice wasn't meant for the air. The hooded girl pulled him close, whispering fiercely. "Listen to me. That's not just a child. It's leverage. Entire companies, governments, they're after what's in there. If you expose it here, we lose everything." He shook his head, breath ragged. "I don't care about governments. I care about them. Whoever they are." Bullets tore the edge of the rooftop, sparks flying. The scarred man's body lay still, but the suits swarmed up the stairwell now, climbing fast. Time bled out with every heartbeat. The courier made his choice. We run. He yanked the woman's arm, pulling her toward the opposite edge of the roof. A maintenance cable stretched across the gap to another building, thin, slick with rain, but possible. She stared at it, then at him. That's suicide. Better than handing them over. His voice cracked but held. He slung the pack to his chest, gripping the line. Every muscle screamed. The city roared below, horns, sirens, chaos. One slip and he'd vanish into it. But he stepped out anyway, each sway of the cable cutting into his hands. Halfway across, a spotlight pinned him. Drones closed in, humming like hornets. Sweat blinded him. His arms burned. Then the bag shifted violently, a sharp cry from inside. The movement nearly pulled him off balance. Don't look down. The woman shouted from behind, her voice raw. He gritted his teeth, forcing himself forward. Every inch was pain, every second an eternity. At last, his boots hit the far roof. He collapsed, dragging the bag against his chest, shaking with exhaustion. But the relief shattered instantly. The hooded girl was still on the other side, surrounded by suits and drones. She locked eyes with him across the gap, face lit in the glare. And then, she unzipped her own jacket, revealing a second identical pack strapped to her chest. The sight of the hooded girl with a second pack split the courier's world in two. His lungs burned, every muscle trembling from the cable crossing, yet his mind spun harder than his body. What the hell is this? He shouted across the gap, voice breaking. She didn't answer, only clutched the second pack as the suits surrounded her, guns leveled. The drones hovered above, their beams painting her in cold light. The woman beside him whispered, shaken, it was never one. There were always two. The courier's knees buckled. Two? Then what was he carrying? What had he risked his life for? What voice had called for help from his chest? The scarred man's betrayal, the whispers, the cryptic warnings, everything twisted into knots he couldn't untangle. He staggered to his feet, yelling, "Tell me what's inside." The hooded girl's lips trembled. For a moment she looked ready to speak. But one of the suits yanked her back, pressing a gun under her chin. She clenched her jaw, refusing. The courier's chest split with helpless fury. He could barely stand, blood seeping from his side, arms heavy. He was losing strength, losing allies, maybe losing his reason. But something deep, raw, refused to quit. Trade him, a voice barked from the stairwell behind. More men flooded onto the rooftop he had just crossed. He and the woman were cornered, between drones in the sky, guns behind, and a chasm separating them from the girl. His grip on the pack tightened. He felt it shift again, small fingers pressing against his chest, as if begging him not to give in. Tears blurred his eyes, rage fusing with exhaustion. I won't surrender them. Not to you. Not to anyone. The woman at his side turned sharply. Her hand rested on his arm, but her eyes were hard. Then you need to know the truth. She leaned closer, her voice a blade against his ear. They're not saving the future. They are the future. The words gutted him. He staggered back, staring at her, betrayed and bewildered. You knew? All along? Her silence was enough. The rooftop roared alive. A helicopter banked overhead, its spotlight drowning them in white fire. A loudspeaker thundered, final chance. Surrender or be erased. The courier dropped to one knee, blood dripping onto the tar. His breath rasped, each inhale like knives. He was done. Almost. Then the backpack shook violently. A child's cry rose louder this time, clear, desperate, please. Everyone froze. Guns wavered, drones hesitated. Even the helicopter stilled midair. And in that silence, the courier lifted his head, eyes blazing with a last spark of defiance. "Come and take them," he rasped. The night erupted with the first explosion. The explosion ripped across the rooftop, fire and smoke tearing the night apart. The courier threw himself over the pack, shielding it with his body as debris rained. The woman dragged him up, coughing, pulling him toward the far edge. The helicopter reeled, searchlights scattering. Suits scattered, drones spiraled, chaos broke their perfect formation. For the first time, they weren't hunting, they were running. The hooded girl broke free in the confusion, sprinting toward the edge opposite them. Her pack jolted violently, small hands pressing against the fabric. She looked across the gap, eyes burning with urgency. "They're twins," she shouted, voice raw. "They can't be apart." The courier's heart slammed. Twins. 2 lives, hidden, carried like contraband. Not experiments, not leverage, children. Futures wrapped in nylon and secrecy. The woman beside him steadied his arm, gaze fierce. "Then bring them together. That's your choice." Bullets whistled. The courier lunged to the cable again, body screaming, vision blurring. Every muscle begged him to quit, but he pushed on. Halfway, fire raged below, the city blazing like judgment. Behind him the helicopter steadied, guns re-aiming. He reached the far side, collapsing beside the hooded girl. She clutched her pack to his, zippers touching. For a moment the rooftop was silent, then both bags shook in unison. 2 small voices whispered through the fabric, finding each other. The courier's chest cracked open with something beyond pain, hope. The woman tore open one zipper. Tiny fingers reached out, fragile, trembling, grasping for light. The second pack followed, another hand breaking through. For the first time, they touched. The suits faltered, guns lowering. The drones hovered uncertain, as if even machines understood the moment. The courier rose, battered and bleeding, but taller than ever. He held both children close, his voice a roar above the chaos, "You will not take their future." Something shifted. The crowd of enemies hesitated, power draining from their stance. The helicopter lights dimmed, orders scrambled in static. It was no longer about control, it was about defeat. With one last surge, the scarred man's employers withdrew, retreating into the night. The rooftop emptied of threat, leaving only smoke, fire, and a man clutching 2 fragile lives. The woman placed a hand on his shoulder, steady, proud. "You weren't late. You were right on time." He laughed through blood and tears, lifting his face to the night sky. The city roared below, alive, chaotic, unforgiving. Yet in his arms was proof that tomorrow could be different. He had delivered more than a package. He had delivered a future. And as dawn broke across the skyline, painting the smoke in gold, he walked forward, not as a courier, not as prey, but as the man who chose to fight and won.